She worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. And the night she served the most important man in the room, he left her absolutely nothing, or so she thought. Sarah Colton had been on her feet for 9 hours straight. Her shoes had a hole in the left sole. She hadn't eaten since morning because she spent her lunch money on her daughter's school trip permission slip. $9. That's all it cost. But when you're raising 2 kids alone, $9 can feel like 900. She worked the dinner shift at Rosewood, a mid-range restaurant in downtown Cincinnati, the kind of place where the tables have cloth napkins but the staff still gets paid just above minimum wage. Sarah had been there 4 years. She knew every regular by name, remembered who was allergic to garlic, who liked their steak medium rare, and who needed decaf after 6 because their doctor told them to cut back. She was good at her job, really good. But good doesn't always pay the rent. That Tuesday night started like any other. The dinner rush hit at 7. Sarah was handling 6 tables alone because her coworker called in sick. Again. She was running food, taking orders, refilling water glasses, smiling at people who barely looked at her. That invisible kind of tired, where your body is in the room but your mind is somewhere else, doing math. Rent is due Friday. Daycare is $40 short this month. My car needs new brakes. Then Table 9 walked in. She didn't recognize him at first. Just a man in a plain gray shirt, no tie, no flashy watch. He sat alone, ordered a black coffee and the grilled salmon, and didn't look at his phone once. That alone was strange. Most people can't sit alone in a restaurant for 5 minutes without scrolling. But he just sat there, calm, watching the room like he was studying it. His name was Daniel Mercer, 43 years old, founder of 3 tech companies, 2 of which had gone public. His net worth, according to the last Forbes estimate, was somewhere around $4.2 billion. He was in Cincinnati for a quiet overnight, stopped between meetings in Chicago and New York. No bodyguards, no assistant, no entourage. Just a man eating salmon alone. Sarah served him the same way she served everyone else. Warm, efficient, attentive. She refilled his coffee without being asked. She noticed he moved his fork to the left side of the plate. She quietly moved it back without saying a word. Because she'd seen enough left-handed diners to know. Small thing, but she noticed. They didn't have a big conversation. He asked how long she'd worked there. She said 4 years. He asked if she liked it. She paused, just half a second too long, and said, "It pays the bills." He nodded like he understood something in that pause. When he finished, he asked for the check. Sarah brought it over. $38.50. He put down 2 20s, no card. No extra cash sitting on the table. She picked up the bills, said thank you, and walked back to the register. 0 tip. She didn't say anything, didn't make a face. She'd had worse nights. She cleared his table, and that's when she saw it, under the plate. A folded piece of paper. She almost didn't open it. She thought it was maybe a complaint. Some rich guy writing down what she did wrong. Her hands were tired. Her feet hurt. She didn't need one more bad thing that night, but something made her unfold it. It wasn't a complaint. It was a check, a real one. Personal check from Daniel Mercer's private account, signed at the bottom. And in the amount line, $10,000. And underneath the check, a handwritten note in blue ink. It said, "You moved my fork without making me feel like a burden. You answered my question honestly instead of pretending. You're clearly carrying something heavy and you're doing it with grace. Use this for whatever you need most." Sarah stood in the middle of that restaurant, holding a piece of paper that could change her life, and her knees just went. A coworker caught her. Her manager came running thinking she'd fainted. But she was okay. More than okay. She was just completely overwhelmed by something. She hadn't felt in a very long time, being seen. Not pitied, not looked through, seen. She later said in an interview that the hardest part of being a single mom isn't the money, it's the invisibility. You wake up, you grind, you push, you sacrifice, and most days nobody notices. You're just background noise in other people's lives. So when someone actually stops and pays attention, really pays attention, it hits you somewhere deep. The check cleared. She used $3,000 to pay off the remaining balance on her car loan, which meant no more fear of repossession. She used $2,000 to build a small emergency fund, the first one she'd ever had in her adult life. She used the rest to put her daughter in the after-school art program. She'd been begging to join for 2 years and to fix a leak in her apartment, ceiling that her landlord had been ignoring for 6 months. She hired someone herself. She got it done. But here's what's interesting about Daniel Mercer. This wasn't a one-time thing. After the story got picked up by a local news station, because Sarah's coworker posted about it online, journalists started digging into Mercer's background, and they found a pattern. Over the past 5 years, there were at least 11 other documented cases of Mercer leaving large anonymous tips or gifts for service workers, a hospital janitor in Austin, a grocery store cashier in Portland, a school bus driver in Atlanta. None of them knew who he was until after the fact. When a reporter finally got him on record and asked him why he did it, Mercer said something that stuck with a lot of people. He said, "I spent my 20s being obsessed with money. I thought it was the scoreboard. Then my mom died working a checkout counter at 61, and I realized the scoreboard was wrong. The real measure is whether you made someone's load a little lighter." His mom had been a cashier. He grew up watching her come home exhausted every night. She died before he made his first million. He never got to pay her back, so he pays it forward, quietly, deliberately, to people who remind him of her. There's something in that story that cuts through all the noise, because we live in a world that celebrates the big gestures, the viral moments, the dramatic donations on stage with cameras rolling. But what Mercer did was the opposite of that. No cameras, no PR team, no tax write-off announcement. Just a man, a check, and a handwritten note under a plate. And for Sarah, it wasn't just the money that changed things. It was the proof that someone could look at her life, really look at it, and think she deserved kindness. That's the part that stayed with her. She still works at Rosewood. She didn't quit. She said she actually likes it there now that her stress has dropped. She's training 2 new servers. Her daughter is in the art program and apparently has a gift for watercolors. Her car is paid off. Her ceiling doesn't leak. Small things, but they're hers. And it all started because she moved a fork to the left side of a plate and somebody noticed.